You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me as always is my co-host Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. How about you?
Good. We've had a good week here at Massive Late Fee, as always. We have a special guest today, Savvy Schmidt from Schmidt Talk and Radio Love Behind the Pop Filter. How you doing, Savvy?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to be on your show.
So you do a show out of California, correct?
Well, it's almost California. It's basically the southernmost point of Oregon. So literally it's about 25 miles to the border, 25-minute drive.
Okay. And what do you guys talk about on your show?
Schmidt Talk is just a variety of different show topics.
Mm-hmm.
We just have different guests on. Initially, my concept for Schmidt Talk was that I would have the devil as my co-host. We just wouldn't say that he was actually the devil. We just called him he with a D. And I had a voice actor for a while that could actually record his voice as the devil without putting it through any software, which was super awesome. And he would do a color commentary on everything. And we were broadcasting from the quote-unquote Lake of Fire studios. And people really bid on it, and it was great. Since then, I've kind of just drifted off doing my own thing. I hope to get the devil back on the show. I Raise the Devil campaign, like even get some t-shirts and stuff so we can get him back on the show, because he comes with a hefty price tag now. Like he actually does commercials for Lexus. And Dave Merrick, if you're listening, we want you back at Schmidt Talk. Just kidding. But no, it's really awesome. I need to dig up some of those shows. They're 6 or 7 years ago now, I think. But anyway, my show's been off the ground. I'm saying 6 or 7 years, but I haven't really put like an actual timeline on it, but it's been in the background of my other media career because I've been working in real radio and TV stations.
Hey, Mike, remember when you did the voice of the devil for me?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that actually when you brought that up.
Yeah, that maybe you should consider going into business doing that. Yeah, back when we were in school, because Mike and I have known each other for a long time, I did some project about the Crucible, and I made a audio tape for my project, and Mike did the voice of the devil tempting Tituba.
Oh my gosh.
And it was great. Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was the hit of that tape for sure.
It is a really good and catchy person to have on a show because honestly, it's just super funny, and I think we need levity in this world because everything is just so. We just really need to just bring the humor up.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we try to do here, obviously. But I guess we'll get into the news. The Oscars were this Sunday. Mike, I'm gonna guess that you watched 10 minutes of them.
I actually watched a good amount of it. I don't know why nothing else was on.
Ah, okay. What did you think? No host. The show went by fairly quickly. For the Oscars, anyway. What did you think of it?
I mean, I wasn't really familiar with any of the movies or anything like that, so it didn't really do much. There was just nothing better on.
Yeah, it definitely takes a little bit away from it. Did you watch the Oscars, Savvy?
I did not watch the Oscars. I only watched the Lady Gaga plus I'm having a name day where I can't remember names.
Cooper?
Bradley Cooper, because I did actually see that A Star Is Born in the theater, and I'm an avid Lady Gaga fan anyway. But so I just only watched that. Somebody posted the YouTube video on Facebook, so I went to watch it. I truthfully didn't really even know the Oscars were yesterday, except people have been talking about it. So I'm kind of out of the loop, but that's what a busy producer does.
Right.
But it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a big moment. The musical number between the two of them. I would say Samuel L. Jackson announcing Spike Lee winning for BlacKkKlansman.
Oh,
That was a pretty big moment too. Did you see that, Mike? He was incredibly excited.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, darn it. Now I'm going to have to watch because that sounds really cool.
So I was 9 out of 10 on my Oscar predictions. The only one I got wrong was Glenn Close Olivia Colman won for The Favorite, and Glenn Close did not win for The Wife. This was the 7th time she was nominated, and I assumed that the Academy would give her one of those patented Lifetime Achievement Awards, basically, for snubbing her so many times. But instead, they decided to snub her for a 7th time. So that can't feel good.
Oh my gosh. Did she like piss off somebody in the panel or something?
I have no idea.
I don't
She's
know.
always been fairly outspoken, but yeah, I'm not sure. Olivia Colman was good, was very good in The Favorite. I can't really argue with it, but I just assumed that Glenn Close would finally get one. I guess she's gonna have to play some dead English queen to get an award, because that seems to be the secret formula for Best Actress out there, is to play Queen Elizabeth I or Queen Anne.
Oh, is that
or
what
something.
that movie's about? The royal family.
Yeah, the Favorite is Olivia Colman as Queen Anne, and it's do I want to sleep with Rachel Weisz or do I want to sleep with Emma Stone? Basically. Which one am I gonna choose? That's kind of no. It's actually it's a really good movie and funny in a lot of surprisingly funny for a period piece. But it's definitely a good movie. But yeah, so like I said, no host, and it seemed like it went award speech song, just all night, bang bang bang, and I think it worked a lot better than having somebody painfully try to do some skits in between each thing.
Yeah.
It actually ended at 11:30, so which is 11:30 Eastern time. What is that? 8:30 for you out there, which is kind of unheard of. It was about 3
Yeah.
hours long. It's usually 4 and Johnny Carson had a famous line the very first time in I think it was 79, I think it was, when he hosted the Oscars for the first time. He came out and his first joke was, "Welcome to the 51st Oscars," or whatever it was. 2 hours of entertainment stretched over 4.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But yeah, so I think they did a really good job with it. I was fairly pleased with most of the wins. There were a couple ways I would have gone a little bit differently, but I was happy to win my Oscar pool, so that was good.
That's awesome.
A couple more stories that I found, Mike, that I think are interesting. I know you're a fan of the Candyman movie, aren't you?
The first one, I didn't see I don't think I saw A Farewell to Flesh. I think it was the second one.
Yeah. But yeah, Tony Todd, friend of the show, Tony Todd, who responded to me one time on Twitter, which is why he's a friend of the show. Jordan Peele is rebooting the Candyman. And he has found his new Candyman, an actor named Yaha Abdul Mateen II, who was in Aquaman. And so I don't understand. The Candyman is such a good movie. I don't know why. I mean, Jordan Peele, I will trust him because Get Out was fantastic. And I'm excited to see Us, which is coming out next month.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel almost that he's doing too much right now because every time I see any new movie or something, it's produced by Jordan Peele,
Yep.
or directed by Jordan. It's I mean, if you do them all at the same level, that's one thing. But I mean, I guess it remains to be seen what exactly the quality will be affected by his.
Yeah, it's worth noting that so far he's, besides the Key and Peele and stuff like that, which I haven't really seen, but as far as movies go, he's made one good movie, Get Out. I mean, it's the only movie he's made, but he's 1 for 1. But it's remains to be seen whether he can keep that up. Us will tell us a lot about his output, but yeah, he's producing and hosting the Twilight Zone reboot that's going to be on CBS All Access.
That's a shame because I don't think I'll ever watch that because I don't know. Do you have to pay for CBS All Access?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
$5
I'm
or
just
something like
not.
that. No, I know. I'm
Yeah,
not. I don't
that's
want to
not
get
something
it.
I'm going to do.
I don't want to get another streaming service either. So I'm probably not going to see it either unless I find some way to see it online, which I suppose is always possible. But
Especially with a sinister laugh like that.
well, I'll just say that I saw most of the pictures nominated for the Oscars in DVD quality, not in a theater. So
You're the person they make those commercials about, aren't you?
yeah, exactly. But
Where the
no,
set designer is living in a box outside because you got to.
now these are all jokes. So I obviously don't, engage in any sort of illegal activity like that. I support creators wholeheartedly, even when I'm just doing it for my job and I don't like to go to the theater. Um, but anyway, so rebooting this film, I don't know. He's not going to direct it, I don't believe. I think he's producing it, and I think he has a hand in writing it. So
Yeah, no, I mean, is he really the best producer out there? Is that why he's being on all these movies? I mean, I think it's like the Quentin Tarantino kind of effect where there's a slew of movies that are like, produced by Quentin Tarantino, and it's like the most sub-quality of like movie.
yeah. Yeah, and see, I don't know because I don't really know what his track record is as far as producing goes. But we'll see what he has in store for us. Like I said, I like Get Out a lot, and I'm not the only one because a lot of people in Hollywood have certainly taken notice of him and hired him for several projects. And I suppose he's striking while the iron is hot, which is probably smart. Although, as you said, I don't know if he's trying to do too much too quickly. But we'll see in the coming months whether Us is good and whether this new Twilight Zone. I've never seen a Twilight Zone series that comes even close to the brilliance of the original Twilight Zone. I know, Mike, you're a big fan of the Twilight Zone too. Savvy, have you ever watched any of the original Twilight Zone with Rod Serling?
Yes. Yes. Definite creepy factor awesomeness.
Yeah. And I know they've tried to reboot it a couple times, once in the 80s, I think, and once in the early 2000s. And I've just never found one that was even close to the magic of the original.
See, I actually like the Forrest Whitaker hosted one. Like, there were some pretty good episodes on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen like 2 episodes of the series from the 80s. One of them was pretty good. The other one was just kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's again, we've discussed this many times. Why even call it the same thing? I mean, it's just doesn't. I mean, why not call it Black Mirror America? I mean, it's there's no connection to the original series. It's just somebody hosting an anthology series. That's all it is.
Well, I think the reason is because CBS owns it, and they want to play on that name recognition.
The name recognition, yeah, but it's just dumb. I mean.
But bringing up Black Mirror is the only one that, and obviously it's not the Twilight Zone, but it's a Twilight Zone-esque show, and that's the only, I like Black Mirror a lot. That's the only one that I've ever seen that comes close to the original Twilight Zone. Savvy, have you ever seen Black Mirror?
No, I haven't. I was just going to add sort of on top of yes. I believe they got bought out by Disney some years back, and also Disney just bought Fox, so that could they could be revamping some things. Anyway,
oh yeah,
I just thought I'd.
Yeah,
but no, I have not.
That Fox deal with Disney is going to be, when that gets finalized, they're going to be an enormous corporation.
It's going to be like beach blanket bingo. Like everything's going to be like really milquetoast, like it was in the '60s. Just kidding. Maybe I hope not, but that'll make our shows even better because everybody will want to listen to us instead.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to years and years of bland entertainment.
That's the fear, like because Deadpool is a Fox property, so obviously that's coming over and going to be taken over by Disney. And the big fear is they're going to neuter that and some of the other
perfect.
things. Yeah.
Put Annette Funicello back on. No.
I hope they ruin all the franchises and the studio goes out of business. and
Ruin
just
all the
drags them under,
franchises. That's
so I don't have to
awesome.
be subjected to that shit anymore.
Yeah, Mike is a big.
And they're making remakes of cartoons at this point. What the fuck? That's just dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, they tried to redo Courage the Cowardly Dog. They could never redo that cartoon.
Right.
That's what you think.
I'm waiting for the. I'm waiting
Wait
for
till
the
your
underdog.
childhood is exploited for terrible movies.
Yeah.
Starring Jason Lee.
Speaking of terrible idea remakes, apparently Fox Searchlight is remaking Sleeping with the Enemy. You remember that film, Mike, from 1991, the Julia Roberts psychological thriller?
Yeah, the one that the plot is so original and the movie's so unique that it's just begging for a remake. Never once have I seen a movie about a woman whose husband was obsessive about her.
Right.
What a unique original idea.
Yeah, that's so great.
Oh, yeah. So for
They
some
should make a
reason,
movie about a guy who's wrongfully accused next.
Oh, that was a good twist.
for some reason they've decided that they're going to remake this film. Obviously, it was a big success in 1991. It grossed $101 million, which was a lot of money.
Oh wow, I didn't know it. Who was the guy? Do you remember? Was it just kind of like some random guy?
Yeah, I don't know if it was anybody that had any kind of career after that. I'll tell you in a second.
There's so many movies like this. There's the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez. It's basically the exact same movie.
Mm-hmm. Double Jeopardy is kind of
all
like
of
that.
Oh my god! One time I can't remember what was playing at the time, and Double Jeopardy was another one of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to just have my heart set on seeing this one movie. This guy coming out of the movie just stops me and goes, "Oh man, are you going to go see Double Jeopardy?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, you got to see it. It's the best movie ever." So I went and saw it, and that man was a liar. It was a fucking terrible movie.
Yeah, the Patrick Connolly Bergen is the name of the other lead in Sleeping with the Enemy. He was an Irish actor known for Sleeping with the Enemy and also as Aidan Maguire on the BBC soap opera EastEnders.
Well, I've heard that name before. It's probably a pretty popular show.
Yeah, I think that's a popular one across the pond, as they say. But no word on who is going to take Julia Roberts' place in the movie. But one of the producers is the producer.
I'm calling it now. Emma Stone. She's got red hair. Bam.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, you're thinking like a Hollywood producer now.
Then she'll finally win the Oscar she's been trying to win for the past few years.
She won for La La Land.
I didn't count that one. I feel a musical should be nominated for Best Picture.
Well, yeah, La La Land, of course, famously won Best Picture for 5 seconds before they realized they'd made a mistake, and then it went to Moonlight. That was a hell of an Oscar ceremony to watch. Because did you even hear about that one, Mike?
Yeah, it was very around that time. There's a lot of mass confusion in the media. I don't know what was going on then. The whole thing with Steve Harvey, where he just called the wrong. What are the odds that that would happen twice in a 2 or 3 year span? It was just nuts.
Yeah, it's you could see if you look at it again, you can see the confusion on Warren Beatty's face as he opens the envelope. Because what happened is for some reason they gave him the wrong envelope. They gave him the Best Actress envelope, and that's Emma Stone won for that movie. And he opens it, and he looks, and he looks at Faye Dunaway who was up there with him, and then he looks again, and she's like, "Oh, you're being silly. Come on, just read it." And then he hands it to her, and she goes, "La La Land." She just but it said on there, it says Emma Stone, La La Land, and she just looks at it and she goes, "Oh, La La Land." So they come up and they start giving their speeches and everything, and then in the middle of it, one of the producers comes out, starts talking to the producers of La La Land. You can see the dejected look on their face. And then the producer of La La Land, the director, Damien Chazelle, he comes to the microphone and he's like, He's like Moonlight. He's like, there's been a mistake. Moonlight, you guys have won Best Picture. Come up here. And they thought he was joking. And then
Oh my
he
God.
eventually he shows the envelope because they gave him the right envelope and says, no, Moonlight won. And so then they gave him that one, and it was just it was nuts.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be a great conspiracy theory to make up.
Yeah, exactly. The Mike, your dog wants to wants to give us stories for the podcast.
Oh, I just have cats.
Oh no, there's
that's
a
your
dog
dog?
outside barking. Let me
okay.
mute my microphone. Sorry, it's not my dog, it's just a neighbor. Hold
No,
on.
you're fine. We want more content. The dog's just trying to provide content for us. But
One time, one of the cats almost meowed on Mike, and I would have been so happy, but he stopped at the last minute. It was pretty upsetting.
the one story that I have that I think might interest you is Universal has announced the DVD release date and the Blu-ray release date and all that stuff for Glass. And what?
Oh, nice. I was thinking about that earlier, that I would like to watch it.
Yeah, that was definitely a good film. Let me see if I can find the date on here. But they've got the bonus features. So the bonus features, they're going to look at the main characters. Each one.
I couldn't care less about bonus features. I never watched them.
Really? Like what about? We used to
Yeah, maybe
listen to those audio commentaries.
An audio commentary, yeah, some of them, depending on who it is. No, I could probably listen to almost any audio commentary, but yeah, like the extra behind the scenes stuff, I just could not care less.
Remember in the early 2000s when every DVD had some kind of weird Easter egg bonus feature that you could find if you pointed the arrows on the controller in the right directions or something like that, you'd find some weird secret thing, and then it was always the stupidest thing in the world. It was just like hey,
They were never good.
look at every stop sign that was damaged in the filming of this film. And it would just be clips of them running into stop signs or something like that.
Look at this intern returning our order from Panera Bread. Isn't that a big order? That just like a camera set there, just watching everybody eat slowly.
So Glass will be coming to digital on April 2nd, and then 2 weeks later, as they always do, it seems with the streaming and deep Blu-ray stuff now, it will be on Blu-ray April 16th. So,
I haven't had a physical form of media for the longest time at this point. I can't tell you the last time, except for books. I don't really care for ebooks that much.
Right.
But I couldn't tell you the last time. No, actually, this is ridiculous. And if my wife is listening, please tune out because I don't want you to yell at me about this part. I listened to this podcast called The Wild Eye. It's about this game I play called Savage Worlds. Mm-hmm. And so I really like the show, and I like to, like you, I like to support people, that I listen to and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So he released a role-playing setting, a few weeks ago. It was $3, so I bought it, But he actually does music too, and it's kind of neat. It's like a good atmospheric music. It's I can't remember what it's called. It's Dungeon Crawl or some weird. I can't remember what it's called. Dungeon Sense, something like that. Okay. But and this makes no sense whatsoever. But he made he's got this. He's on this label, or they're releasing some of his music on it. Mm-hmm. And so they released only 30 copies of this, and it's in cassette form, which I don't own a cassette player. It just doesn't make any sense for me to even purchase this other than to support the guy.
Right.
So yeah, in a few weeks, months, I don't know, I'll have a cassette tape in the mail from England, and it was $10. It wasn't ridiculous, but it's I might as well just throw it in the fucking garbage. It's not going to do anything with it.
You could put it on your collector mount and put it on the wall.
Well, actually, I could, but no. The thing is, he already released the music digitally, So if I want to listen to it, I just have to do that. Okay. But it's whatever. It's got a cool cover and stuff, and it's just kind of weird. But that's the last. I can't anticipate really ever buying another form of media aside from video games or, as mentioned before, books. But even video games, you could download a lot of those nowadays. No.
Right. Well, that is all the news I have for today. So I guess we'll move on to what we're watching. Mike, what have you been watching this week? Anything interesting?
Oh, this is going to blow your mind. I've watched 3 different movies this week. Two of them back to back, actually. As usual, I've been watching the hot ones in Frankenstein's Lab. That's what it's called. Oh my god, I love that show. I've been watching a lot of that. Just it's the simplest like concept. It's two guys just watching like funny clips and stuff and reacting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun. They're they have a lot of personality. They're hilarious. They make funny comments. It's just fun to watch. I didn't watch the most recent Hot Ones yet. I might do that after this show actually.
Who's on it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But I think it's two people I don't really care for.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's the two. I can't remember their names. I think it's the two guys who used to do this Vice show like once a day, like they did a show on Vice TV. I just can't remember their names. I never saw it. It just didn't look very interesting to me.
Okay.
And plus, I prefer it as one guest. I don't know why. It's just something I like better on that show. Last Thursday, I actually went to the theater and in 3D nonetheless. My wife and our two kids and I saw the Lego Movie Part 2. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I really enjoyed it. There are a lot of really like hilarious parts. There are like a lot of references to other things that like the other Lego Movie, and there's like actually like just even more meta references than that. It's just a fun movie, and it actually like for the first time I saw a movie in 3D that seemed to be enhanced by the 3D.
Okay.
The only other movie I've seen in 3D is they did the Lion King. They re-released it in 3D,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't originally done in 3D. So they just like I don't know. It's like they put like another fucking like frame like half an inch over in a different color or something.
Yeah, I have no idea how they do it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not great. It's just like it kind of looks like it's not made for that or anything. But this movie, like at certain points, and it's not like in the old like. Do you remember like back in like the early '90s or so? You'd be watching like TV and they'd have like, oh, everyone, they're giving away free 3D glasses for this Friday. The whole entire lineup will be in 3D.
Yep, I remember that.
And it was just terrible. Like the glass, it was. They every so often they'd be like, "Oh, look, I'm going to throw this ball," and it'd be like at the camera, So I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's cool."
It was
like really.
It was always the most out of place thing. Like it
Yeah.
was never part of the story. It was just
No,
like,
not at all.
oh, let's do this for 3D, and it was the shittiest looking 3D.
Yep. But in this one, they actually did like it. They had stuff that did pop out of you, but it wasn't like it wasn't like ham-fisted like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually really like kind of neat. And it was like every so often it'd be like, "Oh, okay." It just seemed like natural to the plot of the movie. But I thought it was really good. I like that movie.
Maybe we'll do. Maybe that'll be our next episode. I'll go out with the kids and watch that, and then we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think the Lego Batman movie I might have seen in 3D as well because I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have.
I enjoyed that movie quite a bit too. But during the opening part where they get on top of the plane and like they are like going above it, like I got a really bad like a bad like vertigo like sensation kind of thing. And like I think that's because it was in 3D. But I don't know. I'm really weird with heights sometimes. So
yeah, me too. I don't like them.
What
other movies did you watch?
Yeah, I know, right? And then yesterday, I saw it was the movie. Have you ever seen the movie Get Him to the Greek with Jonah Hill and Russell Brand?
No, but I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
I saw that one. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. Isn't it a spinoff to? I think it's a spinoff to.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Sarah Marshall.
Yep.
Yeah, and they'll say it's like the same character, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it came out after that movie. But it's a pretty fun movie. It's it's pretty consistently good. There's not really there's not really many parts at all I can think of that are like kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going to skip this part.
Mm-hmm.
And then
well, I dated a rock star, and it's pretty consistent. So.
Oh, nice.
Can you name names?
Well, I mean, he was on Oleander, been on a couple of bands.
Okay.
I don't know if I can name his name right now. Yeah, he's played with a couple of big bands, but so
that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll tell you. Well, probably not on there, but
okay.
Anyway, hit me up later. I'm gonna mute my microphone because the neighbor's dog is barking and barking.
Okay.
That's fine. But then right after that, The Hangover was on, and I saw The Hangover, years and years ago, and it was like, but I started watching it from the beginning this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually kind of watched it too because I forgot to mention this on the news. Comedian Brody Stevens passed away this week.
Oh, yep, I forgot to mention that too.
Yeah, and he's in The Hangover, as he was more than happy to tell everybody. He was in The Hangover 1, Hangover 2, Hangover 3. His part got cut.
Yeah.
He's a hilarious comedian. If you look him up, it's definitely worth a look.
Yeah, his stand-up is great.
Yeah, he's just an interesting guy in general. I saw there's a limited series on Comedy Central about him. It was called Enjoy Yourself, I think.
Okay.
That was, pardon me, pretty entertaining. It was an interesting look into a unique person for sure. But so I watched it until that part, and I'm like, oh, this is actually a lot better than I remembered, which I was shocked by.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just thought it would be like even worse than I remembered. But it wasn't that bad, so I watched it all the way through. And Ken Jeong is like really great in that movie. I didn't realize how funny he was.
He is very funny in that film.
I think what happens is I saw the second movie and it wasn't good, and then so I just kind of like melt the two together and then just kind of like average it out in my head. So it's like it's like a 70% movie.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like that Todd Phillips trolled the studio with the second and third movie because I know he made the first movie, then he didn't want to make the other movies, but I think he was under contract or something like that, and they were basically like, "We need you to make a sequel to this movie because it did so well." So he did the second one, and I'm trying to remember what order it goes in. If the second one's the one that's just like really out there, if that's the third one. I think the second one's the one that's just like completely
You go to Thailand or Vietnam or something.
Yeah, and I feel like he was just like, I am just going to screw everyone over. Like, he's like, I'm just going to make the most outlandish, terrible, disgusting film that I can think of. And so that's like what he did for the second one. And then the third one, there were a lot of studio notes, and I think it's more of basically just kind of a, what sequels used to be, where it's basically the same movie over again.
Whatever you can, like squeeze as much as you can out of it.
Yeah.
This is, this gravy train is going off the rails.
Exactly. But
I feel that if there was only the first movie, I'd have a much better memory, and fondness for the movie, because the first one was really good. But it's like, just why you make? I hate like sequels for the most part. Just cheapen the original movie, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
However, one of my favorite movies is Aliens, which is a sequel, so I can't really say too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Aliens, they at least had something to go on, basically, and it's James Cameron instead of Ridley Scott, so it's a very different take. I kind of, even though I don't like Alien 3 that much, or any of the other Alien movies besides the first two, I do sort of appreciate how it's like it's a different director basically taking on kind of the same type of story.
I think that's really interesting when it's almost like a different genre, like somebody covering a song, like they're not doing a note by note cover. They're trying it's like a different genre of music almost.
Yep.
Where, Ridley Scott is in a lot of ways like more cerebral, and like his like scares are more like, they slowly tease him out. But James Cameron like has like the perfect instinct to go like way over the top and make it like, so much more exciting and fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And what I hate is when they make sequels just to make more money for no other reason other than, hey, this movie did really well, let's make another one. When they actually have a plan, then it seems to, like with The Godfather 2, for instance.
Oh yeah, I mean was that? I never read. Have you read the original books?
I read the first one. Yeah.
Is all the stuff in one book that they just stretch it out to 2 movies, or is it just because it looks like they were done almost like right after each other? They must have came out pretty quickly in succession because the characters look all the same.
There's a lot of stuff in The Godfather 2 in the first Godfather book where they go they do a lot of the past in that book. So yes, to answer your question, yeah, like they follow the more linear, what's going on right now storyline of the first book, but when they did the second movie, they leaned heavily on a lot of the like setup, the backstory and stuff like that that's in the first book.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, because I read like, oh my gosh, I don't even know which one it was in the series. Like I started to read like one of the sequels not by Mario Puzo, and I don't know what the fuck is even going on. It's like Sonny's ghost is there. Like seriously, like what? It's like a ghost. Why am I read like maybe like 10 pages and I'm done with the book.
It's so ridiculous.
Family.
The Godfather with a ghost.
I bet this one has a goddamn ghost in it.
Exactly. Oh my god. Oh, Savvy, have you seen anything recently that you want to share with the people?
I wish I could say I did. I'm just busy being a single mom and doing the radio stuff and now TV stuff, so I haven't. But I've been talking to TV producers about my show and stuff like that, so I guess I can give that insight. So yeah, my homework is to watch some actual network shows on TLC and Discovery and all that to better the show that I have like launching right now. So it's kind of exciting. So that's all I have to report, unfortunately. But actually, fortunately, because a lot of people would love to be in the position I'm in. So it's actually cool. But anyway, sorry, I don't have anything to contribute on watching stuff lately.
maybe you'll be on one of our segments of what you're watching pretty soon.
Yeah, like TLC or I don't think Discovery. One of the network channels for sure. I'm talking to some TV producers right now. But anyway, so yeah, I'll definitely keep everybody updated. My thing that I like to watch is I like to watch YouTube, like reality people, because that to me is really entertaining. I guess I have a bent for reality TV, and I don't know, it's just interesting to me. I like to watch people like build stuff. Like there's a YouTube video of a 12-year-old boy that built a tiny home. I think his dad or mom or somebody was involved because the specs on that house were just so perfect. I'm like, it's possible a 12-year-old could do that. Like, but anyway, I digress. Like, yeah, I love like watching people build stuff and make stuff.
It's really easy to
like
suck to those shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like entertaining for me. Like genuine organic or Becky's Homestead. This is a kind of a funny show. She like will tell you like which chickens are the quietest and how to get property for free, how to get land for free, or how to pick your land. She did her research, like, but she's really funny because she goes, "This is Becky's Homestead," and I like showed my sister the show, and she really talks like this, but she has a great show. She did her homework. I don't know, she's probably in her 50s, and I don't think she's in her 60s, but she has done her homework, and she's got like quite a big following now. And kudos to her because it's like super cool. So I like to watch stuff like that. Just homesteading stuff, like how to install your own solar panels. I don't know. Maybe I'm like a handy girl at heart, but I mean, that's kind of the stuff I like to watch. I guess it's useful. Not that I don't love entertainment. I just have a propensity to watching like the educational or the real life stuff, but everybody's different. And, if I had more time, not being a single mom, I probably would watch more entertaining stuff. But a lot of the series take a lot of commitment to start watching.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I could get into like Game of Thrones because I just don't have the time. But I would love to, like, get into all that stuff. But there will come a day when I can. So that's my short but long answer. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
And if I start a reality show, it's going to get worse because the filming schedule is going to get really crazy, but hey, that'll be cool. It'll be all right.
I've been going back to the past. This week, I've been real busy with work, putting together, because we're putting together our podcast network. We've got a lot of cool new podcasts on board. You guys will be hearing commercials for those coming up soon. We'll all be playing commercials for each other, and there will be a lot that you guys can check out. We have a new Twitter. Go to MSC Network, or at MSC Network on Twitter, and that will be the podcast or the Twitter account for our podcast network once we get that built up. Obviously, we'll still connect with you guys through our own Twitter account and the main Twitter account for Michigan Sports and Entertainment. We'll connect with you through there as well, but that'll be kind of the new hub for all the different podcasts that are coming on board, so that's really exciting. So I haven't had a time to watch a ton of stuff, but I have been watching Saint Elsewhere. It's a show that we're in from 1982 to 1987. And it's one.
I see you tweeting about that quite a bit lately.
Yes, I started live tweeting myself watching it on Hulu, and it was almost by accident. This is one of those shows that I remember my parents watching when I was a kid, but I was so young that I don't really remember the show. I just kind of remember that it was on, and I remembered the theme song. So I've discovered it on Hulu, and I started watching it. And I noticed in the very first episode that Colin Quinn, Mike, your friend and mine, Colin Quinn, was in the first episode as
yes.
Yeah, it just like he's not even a guest star or anything. This is obviously
he only looks like he's 50 in that, I bet.
Yeah, exactly. He does look almost exactly the same. but it's one of those things where he plays a janitor. He's fixing a light. So he's on the screen for maybe 5 seconds, but he does have a line and you can barely see his face, but there is no mistaking his voice. And so I knew it was him, so I tweeted that out. And then Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live guest starred in this, I think it was the second episode.
Oh, I love her.
And she had this line. She was playing, because there's a psych ward in this hospital too. And W.G. Bailey, who was the bad guy in the Police Academy movies, he plays the guy, the psychiatrist. And so he's talking to her about stuff, and she's giving this crazy backstory of her life, and she said that she dated Marlon Brando at one point. And then she says the line, Marlon Brando likes dark women because he can't see them.
Oh.
And I just thought,
oh my god!
I just thought that was both hilarious and obviously something that would never be on network TV.
That's like a bombshell.
Right. So I tweeted that out. I tweeted out the quotes, and I tweeted it to Lorraine Newman, and I said Lorraine Newman as this character on the second episode of St. Elsewhere. And then I just kind of realized I was live tweeting what I was watching. So I wrote, I guess I'm live tweeting me watching St. Elsewhere now, so that's happening. And then I just started tweeting about like basically anything that caught my mind or caught my attention. But Doris Roberts from Everybody Loves Raymond was a guest star. The girl that plays Berta in 2.5 Men was on there. Ray Liotta, a very young Ray Liotta, played a gang member as a guest star. So I'm listing all these people that were on there, and I was like, St. Elsewhere's guest star game was strong as hell.
Yeah, it's weird how some shows like that don't seem like they were like huge, like popular shows will just have like the most insane like guest lists. Like the X-Files in their early seasons, like they have like a lot of people who went on to become like pretty famous after that. Yeah,
and a pre-famous, just starting out, Denzel Washington is a regular member of the cast of St. Elsewhere. So, and Howie Mandel was on the show, Ed Begley Jr., William Daniels, who played Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World. These were all regular members of the cast. And so there's a lot of people that went on to. Mark Harmon will appear in the second season.
Ooh,
I know.
My dad went to school with Mark Harmon.
Oh, did he? UCLA, I think.
Yeah, he went to. It was one of the schools in LA. Oh my gosh,
I can't remember. I can't remember if he went to USC or UCLA.
It was like Harvard. But anyway, it's not the Harvard College, the Ivy League. It was I believe it was just the Harvard. Like, I think that was the name of it. But forgive me, I'll find out and put it in a post of mine because I don't know. Yeah, he knew him from school.
Famous, he played for the football team and he ran the wishbone offense, which does not really get run anymore. But he has a Michigan connection because his father, Tom Harmon, won the Heisman Trophy for the University of Michigan when he played football here.
Oh my gosh, I should totally throw that out there. My mom's been trying to get my dad get back in touch with Mark Harmon for the longest time, and my dad is reticent for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah. See if you can get a connection. We want him on the show. I want to talk about St. Elsewhere with him.
I totally will because my dad's name is Ken Schmidt.
Okay. And
I will reach out as Savvy Schmidt, which is short for Savannah. Savvy's a nickname, but I will totally reach out and see if I can make that happen because that would be super cool.
Ken, if you're listening, I'll watch any Tom Harmon football games with you or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's super cool.
But yeah, so that's what I've been watching mostly and live tweeting about it. I'll probably do that later in the week too. So go to Massive Late Fee on Twitter if you want to follow along with me watching a almost 40-year-old program on Hulu.
Oh wow, that is that old. That's pretty insane.
That is a long time.
Yeah,
I'll have my popcorn and chocolate.
But this week, Mike, since we're talking about 80s comedies, I decided that I was going to find an 80s film, sort of a comedy, although the second one's more of a comedy. The first one's more of a drama. but comedy drama, I suppose. But this is a classic 80s film that I don't think you've seen. It stars Lucinda Dickey, Shabba-Doo, Boogaloo Shrimp, Ben Loki, Phineas Newborn III, and a surprise guest that we'll get to in a minute. But it is the 1984 film Breaking, about breakdancing.
I've seen the sequel, but not the first one.
So here is the plot to Breaking. Protagonist Kelly Bennett. I like that they point out that she's the protagonist, and they start with the protagonist as if that's a novel thing. Protagonist Kelly Bennett, Lucinda Dickey, is a young dancer training under the supervision of a traditionalist choreographer, Franco. Though through her friend Adam, Kelly is introduced to two street dancers, Ozone, played by Adolfo Shabba-Doo Quinones, and Turbo, Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers, on the boardwalk at Venice Beach. Kelly becomes enamored with their dancing and becomes friendly with the men, dancing and talking with them. So I'm glad that they clarified what they meant by being.
You know what? I wanna find out who the producer was for this, because I wanna actually interview them on how they thought that giving their people these names would help, because I'm genuinely interested, and I think the audience would be also interested.
Well, the producers are Alan DeBevosi and David Zito.
Sweet. Send them to me on a thing so I know how to spell that, because I'm totally reaching out, because that's a show.
Yeah, I will definitely send that to you.
Oh my gosh.
Where am I? So Kelly, let's see. Kelly becomes enamored with their dancing and becomes friendly with the men, dancing and talking with them. Eventually, after dancing together, the three form a team. I guess a dance team? They don't really specify. I don't think it's a squash team.
They're a dance team. A TKO Productions is their name of their company in the second one.
I can see the half shirts and leg warmers.
Kelly eventually leaves her studio as her choreographer does not respect breakdancing and makes unwanted advances towards her. I like how they frame that as if those two things are equal.
Oh my god.
He tried to rape me, and he doesn't like breakdancing.
What's that strip movie that has the girl from
Showgirls?
Oh, what is
Elizabeth Berkley from
yes.
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the
That
Bell.
was the cheesiest. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of that.
Later, Kelly attends a dance audition and is shut down by harsh directors. Kelly then wanders to a breakdancing event where she finds Ozone and Turbo in the midst of a dance battle that they eventually lose against rivals Electro Rock. Ozone is very defeated and consoled by Kelly, and she convinces him and Turbo to enter a dance competition. I like that she convinces them to enter a dance competition right after watching them lose. So this is who I'm gonna hitch my star to. Kelly's agent friend James, Mike, played by the great Christopher McDonald. You recognize that name?
That one.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see just what he looks like in that one.
Yeah, no
the
kidding.
Great Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dennis Mitchell's father in the Dennis the Menace movie.
And in Dirty Work too. He plays the villain in Dirty Work. Anyway, so Kelly's agent friend James, Christopher McDonald, sees what the group can do and agrees to back them. What they can do, lose? However, the group is technically not allowed to perform in the dance audition because they only want, quote, respected forms of dance. Kelly and the crew dress up in black tie clothes to fool the judges and then start their audition. When the judges see their breakdancing, they are initially shocked and disapproving. I can just see this, like the 80s stuffiness where they're just crossing their arms and shaking their heads.
And there's no buzzers.
Right. However, the three eventually win over the judges and are chosen from the audition. The group goes on to be popular, remain friends, and dance in the community. So it's a happy ending. Obviously, Mike, as you intimated, this is followed by maybe the most famous title in 80s history, Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
See, I feel that the girl in that's name was Kate, so I wonder if they switched her out and kept the real talent, Turbo and Ozone.
No, it's still Kelly. It's still according to this, it's still the three main characters. Kelly.
Yeah, I must have completely misremembered the name. That's weird.
So Breaking 2 features 3 characters from Breaking: Kelly, Orlando, Ozone, Barco, and Tony Turbo Ainley, who struggle to stop the demolition of a community recreation center by a developer who wants to build a shopping mall. Victor Manuel.
I gotta say, rec centers in the '80s were in huge danger all over the place.
Yes, they were in danger of being destroyed constantly.
Second only to summer camps.
Yes. Ice-T is in this film too, apparently.
He is?
That's what it says.
I don't remember that at all.
He's a dancer, so I'm guessing he's maybe a background dancer.
I guess the entire movie Breaking 2 is just a very thinly veiled plot wrapped around just these elaborate, ridiculous dance sequences.
Now, here's because the Breaking 2 plot summary is not very long, and I couldn't really find a long one. I'm going to read a user review that was posted on September 9th, 2002, so almost the 1-year anniversary of September 11th. Never forget. For Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo.
He just had to get that review out.
Yep, exactly.
He thought he'd give a year of mourning, just, out of respect. But there's there's 2 days left. No one will give a shit.
He couldn't make it. Here's the title of this review. Off the Heezy.
Oh, Lord.
Let's get one thing straight. If you haven't lived the hip-hop lifestyle, you cannot properly judge this movie in any negative manner. I was a teenager in the mid-'80s and danced, parentheses, electric boogie, in the streets and roller rinks of New York for 4+ years. I went to LA when I was 16. I'd like to point out that that means then he started when he was not a teenager. He had to start when he was at most 12. If he danced for 4 years and then moved to LA when he was 16. I went to LA when I was 16 and battled other dancers on Venice Beach, which was the mecca of electric boogie street dancers. This movie was...
I feel that New York was a bigger breakdancing center.
I agree. I think that he left because of the competition. I think...
He didn't have the stones.
I think the competition was too tough for him.
He wanted to make a triumphant return at one point, but,
He just let that rec center get bulldozed over.
His life was Breaking 3. My dad did it like this back in the 80s.
This movie was the best of its kind. Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers was arguably the best in the craft and shined in both this movie and its predecessor. Don't view this movie looking for a wealth of incredible acting. Why would you look for that when you watch a movie?
Honey, what do you want to watch? Sophie's Choice? Or this breakdancing movie that's got good reviews.
Oh my gosh. The technical part of me is like, he's so short. If his name is Shrimp, they have a lower center of gravity, so he can probably do better moves. Sorry.
Right.
I'm being a nerd.
Maybe we really do need to grow up with a hip-hop lifestyle to appreciate this movie.
Yeah, it's possible. But do watch it for some amazing street dancing and a very likable cast with a good storyline. I loved this movie and still do.
There's like a 20-minute sequence where this guy dances with a broom.
That's a hell of a storyline.
It's very odd.
Every time I see it, I'm transported from my office back to the carefree teenage years. I could just see him just leaning back in his chair, wistfully looking at the ceiling.
I like how someone considers the mid-'80s.
Oh, jeez.
I like how someone thinks the mid-'80s are like, carefree years.
Right.
They got this new thing going around.
There's this new carefree thing going around. I think they call it 80s. Is it 80s?
Have you heard about this new drug called crack? Crazy.
Every time I see it, I'm transported from my office back to my carefree teenage years, where my biggest problems were what to wear when dancing and what music I was going to boogie to and whether or not I'd get AIDS. No, he didn't say that. And then it ends with I'm popping and throwing waves as I write.
Oh, Lord.
Which, if he actually was doing that, is pretty impressive that he was still able to write while he was popping and throwing waves.
I woke up in the intensive care unit.
But that is Educating Mike for this episode. And now we have another special segment of the show. This is an interview that I conducted earlier with Larry Hankin, who you might remember from Breaking Bad, Mr. Heckles on Friends, he was on Seinfeld, he's been on a ton of stuff. Here it is, Larry Hankin. Well, everybody, this is a singular honor for me. I think all you guys will enjoy this as well. We have with us Larry Hankin, who you might not recognize the name, although a lot of you might, but you will certainly recognize his face and his voice. You know him as Mr. Heckles on Friends, as Old Joe from Breaking Bad, as Barry, who played Kramer in the show within a show on Seinfeld. For people like me, who are huge fans of 70s and 80s television and movies, you know him from Armed and Dangerous, episodes of It's a Living, Newhart, That Girl, and Lou Grant. It is Larry Hankin. How are you, Larry?
Wow, that's I guess I'm fine. I guess I'm terrific. One correction. I was on Friends, but Barry is a show. Barry, that
Yeah. That's right. You were
I was
Mr.
on that.
Pepper.
I was the hitman.
That's right. Yeah, on Seinfeld, your name was something Pepper. I don't remember the first name.
Tom.
Yeah,
Tom.
that's right. You are probably one of the more famous character actors that's out
That's
there.
true? Really?
Oh yeah.
No kidding.
How?
I have no idea. I don't. I'm not in show business. I mean, in my little bailiwick, in my mind, I'm not in show business. I'm a guy who lives down the block and lives across the street from that restaurant over there.
Well, that was kind of my first question. Do you sort of view your career as the best of both worlds? You work a lot. Obviously you can make a living doing acting and making films, which I'm sure is, since you do it so much, I'm sure is your passion, but you're not necessarily hounded by paparazzi and things like that, like the quote-unquote A-list stars are. Do you kind of look at that as the best of both worlds?
You would think so, but no.
Okay.
No, it's a kind of it's a well-known small fact, but no, I think of myself as popcorn. And that's a philosophical kind of attack on the subject. Popcorn, in that it's a kernel of corn, a person I am, a kernel of corn that is constantly in the process of popping. In other words, I always want to grow. I'm never, I don't want to be here now. I want to be there now.
Mm-hmm.
So I am never satisfied. It's very frustrating, but that's how it is,
Yeah,
I got to keep going, man. This ain't the end.
Your filmography, I think, would certainly bear that out. That you've taken on lots of different roles. You started on That Girl in 1968. That's the first credit that I have.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I thought my first credit was Laverne and Shirley. Where does that come in? Because I thought that was my first. I guess I was up in San Francisco, and I didn't count That Girl because I was living in San Francisco, so that was just a blip.
Okay.
Something that. But yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'll take IMDb's word for it.
But so starting from 68 and working up until now, and into the future, obviously the business has changed. Are you being arrested?
Yeah. No, but I think my apartment building is on fire.
Oh,
They
no.
just went fast. Okay, we're cool.
But starting in '68 and working, up until now in the future, obviously the business has changed quite a bit. What do you
Wow,
think?
yeah.
What do you think is the biggest change as far as the movie making business goes?
Okay, the thing that pops into my mind is the internet. I mean, and therefore access. And you would think that the internet gives you more access, but no, it gives you less. I could call up when I first started. This is like in the dark ages. You could call an agent and say, "Hey, can I have an interview?" You could get an agent a little more easily than you can now because everybody assumes they have access to agents or producers or directors or whoever you want to call. Millions of people, they call from Austria. So, it's almost impossible to get connected in Hollywood. That's why I don't kind of focus on it. That's why I do my own things, and I kind of get fed up every once in a while with the fact that you would think with all my credits I could get anyone to take my phone call or interview. No, that's not true. So it's a lot harder access. I guess that's the answer. Access.
Yeah, you were in Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood.
Was he in that too? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was in it. Yeah.
Would you consider that kind of the big break of your career?
No, not at all. That was, in other words, that was the epitome of my career. Do you realize that I got co-star billing with Clint Eastwood, and that was my first major motion picture?
Yeah.
And that was when was that? 79, around there, 79 or 80, something like that. So I just right out of the box, I moved down here. So that was my official, feeling that I was in Hollywood. When I moved down here and was sleeping on people's couches, and the first thing I got, and that's why I say Laverne and Shirley, was the first thing I got when I moved down here was Laverne and Shirley. Or I kind of got that and then moved down here. In other words, Laverne, what was her real name? Penny Marshall.
Penny Marshall, yeah.
Penny Marshall saw me in the committee up there. So I was living in San Francisco and with the committee. So she came up there, and I got a call saying, would you please come down? We want to interview you because we want you on the show. So I went down for the interview, and I got not only the interview, but I went down for the interview. I was hired, and then I moved. I got Laverne and Shirley, and then I moved down and was couch surfing, and then I got Escape from Alcatraz. So I went from being, I was a guest star, I guess, role in Laverne and Shirley, and then co-star in Escape from Alcatraz, and it was downhill from there for years.
Well, I like Escape from Alcatraz, but seeing your work, I don't know that I would totally agree that it was downhill.
Well, to me, because there's three things that this this agent that I got because of Laverne and Shirley, and he stayed with me for quite a while, and I was getting tired of, I don't know. So what he said was, there's only three things that count in this town, and you have to get two. And it was billing, money, and role. And he said, if you're anybody, if you have any kind of power at all, you must get two of those three. And major stars get all three. And I was getting a huge amount of money, and I got billing. So I got two of those three right out of the box, almost my second job, I believe. So, and then when I say downhill, I never got that billing I never got that billing.
Oh, okay.
Co-starring billing. I always got all those things with guest star billing. And I just got tired of it, So I just started doing my own thing and making my own movies. So then Hollywood became an ancillary money machine. It was just like an ATM. That was all. It would just, because I spent millions, well, not millions, but hundreds of thousands, I guess, on my films. I have, I don't know, 30, at least a minimum of 30 films. I don't know. Some were 20 minutes, some were a minute and a half. But I just got tired of the Hollywood begging. People call it auditioning, but it's, please hire me every 2 or 3 months, because even if you do a major motion picture, it's 3 months work, and then you're on the street again. So you got to save your money, and there's that whole thing about the fact that you have to figure, I'm getting like hundreds of thousands, well, not me, hundreds of thousands, but thousands of dollars for this one role, and then 3 months later you're out of work, and you got to make sure that money you got, which is fun, is going to keep you going until you get your next job. And then your next job, not necessarily as much money as the one you just, it's a crapshoot down here.
Right.
Down here, on the East Coast here. So my looking at Hollywood is not how my fans or your fans or any fans look at it. It's just a whole different world if you're looking at it from the inside out. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sure. That kind of dovetails you making your own movies nicely into my next couple questions. I want to talk about Sally's Diner for a minute. Now, this was a short film that you wrote, directed, produced, and starred in 1980. It was nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
And I've seen the other films that year. I saw the film that won. Nice film, but I have to say I don't quite agree. Your film is hilarious. And just
so wait a minute, what don't you agree and what you do? I don't know which one you're talking about.
I think you should have won.
Oh, right. Me too. I was pissed. I went to that thing. Mm-hmm. The Academy Awards, because my film was in it, and I'm sitting there, and I had because I was starving at the time. I had spent all my money on that film because I wasn't established in 1980. The money that I got from Escape from Alcatraz went into Sally's Diner. So all the money that I paid off a lot of debts with the Escape from Alcatraz salary, and the rest I spent on rent and Sally's Diner. So I went to the Academy Awards, and to do that, I had to buy my girlfriend a nice dress. Nobody has a dress that you're going to wear to the Academy Awards,
right?
Because you're only going to wear it once. And she'd been, and I had to wear a tuxedo. So she said, "Hey, man, if you got a tuxedo, I got to look cool too." Right. So we went shopping. So we had that, and then we had to get a limo, and it was like a big deal. And then I didn't win. What the hell? And what was all that money for? What the hell did I buy her the dress and this tuxedo and the limo? What the heck is going on?
So it was not an honor to be nominated then.
No, no.
It was a burden.
It was it was a trick. That's what it was. It pulled the rug. No, I really was pissed. If you're nominated, you're going to get it. That's it.
Right.
Next question.
That is just a small excerpt of a very long, in-depth, and fascinating interview that we did with Mr. Hankin previously. And the full interview will be available as a bonus episode tomorrow. So look for that on Massive Late Fees page tomorrow, Friday. We are going to have the entire interview with Larry Hankin. You will not want to miss it. It is absolutely fascinating. And now back to the show. Which brings us to our main topic, the screwball comedies of the 1980s. I grew up watching a lot of these movies. Mike and I are roughly the same age. I'm not going to ask a lady her age, but I'm going to assume that you're a bit younger than us, Savvy. But
yes, I had a little touch of the 80s. We'll just put my age there. So I'm aware of like some of the 80s comedies, like which I watched after they came out, were like Weird Science. You mentioned Alien earlier. Oh my gosh, that scared the
That's a
crap out of
hilarious
me.
movie.
Alien. What was the one with the red eyeball? Like Terminator? Was it the?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, they were just a little bit before my time. Like, and then the. Oh, you mentioned the No, what was the one with Glenn Close? Like a long time ago. Like
Kramer
or
versus Kramer or Sophie's Choice?
no, she like
No,
put the
that's,
bunny in the pot like a long
Oh,
time
Fatal
ago.
Attraction.
Fatal Attraction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Kramer versus Kramer, and that's in Sophie's Choice is Meryl Streep.
Right. They were like before my time a little
Oh,
bit,
yeah,
but like
you're right.
I knew about them like when I became old enough, and like my parents like had seen them, and so I knew about them, and I never did see Flashdance or
Oh yeah.
what's the main like big one from the 80s?
Footloose.
Footloose was awesome.
Yeah.
But there was one that was like there's like a song that goes with it. It's like the
Ghostbusters.
paler shade of white or shades of
I know what you're talking about. Whiter shade of pale.
yeah,
We
what's
skipped
that
a
one?
light fandango.
Yeah, like I never saw that, but my parents like I knew that they were fans, but I was still young at the time, too young. But I never did watch that one. It was like
is that the Big
gosh.
Chill or
yes,
yeah.
yeah. I never saw that, but I guess it got like rave like reviews. So
Yeah, but so we're doing the 80s comedies. You might not know as many of these, but you mentioned one, Weird Science. That's definitely on the list. Mike, have you seen Weird Science, the original Weird Science?
No, I haven't seen that one.
That's another
that's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a very interesting film. For those of you who aren't aware of it, 1985. It's John Hughes, I believe, and John. So yeah, I think let me see if I can remember. Yeah, John Hughes wrote it and directed it, and Joel Silver, the famous producer, produced it. But it's basically Anthony Michael Hall, and I think his name is Elon Mitchell Smith, I think is his name, and Kelly LeBrock. But those two play kind of nerds that think that they can create a woman with a computer program. They put bras on their heads. It's Frankenstein is basically what it is. But they put a Barbie doll on this thing. This is during the age when no one knew how computers worked. They just thought that they were magic, basically. And so they use a Barbie doll and they put in all the measurements and how they want her to look and everything. And then lightning strikes their house, I think, or their power line, and it goes through the computer and it creates Kelly LeBrock. So they've actually created a woman named Lisa, who then they kind of teach how to act in society, and she basically plays their guardian angel, making them cooler, and she has all these magic powers. She can manifest things, make things disappear. It's definitely a goofball film, but
it is.
But like a lot of John Hughes films, it's really good. It's a pretty funny and solid film. You said you saw this, Savvy, right?
I did, and I also wanted to mention that Bill Paxton, he's been credited in films such as Terminator, Weird Science, Aliens, Predator 2, Tombstone, True Lies, Apollo 13, Twister, Titanic, Mighty Joe Young, U-571, Vertical Limit, Edge of Tomorrow, and Nightcrawler. He was also featured as the brother Chet, who is the antagonist in the movie.
Oh, yes.
And he actually sadly died not last year. It's February 25th. Oh, his death anniversary was yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, it was yesterday, actually.
Yeah, he died 2 years ago yesterday. So kudos to Bill Paxton.
Yep.
I'm awfully sorry. That's awful. But yeah, basically, I just gave a synopsis because I just looked everything up. But yeah, that was a really great movie for its time.
Yeah, definitely. It has a lot of John Hughes staples in it, but also just a lot of staples of really wacky, high concept '80s comedies. This is the type of movie that the '80s was really known for. Robert Downey Jr. is in this too. He's another one of
Oh my gosh.
the antagonists
It's
in the
like
film.
what was he and Winona Ryder were like staples in
Oh,
like
yes.
the 80s movies. They were like just like got a new movie this year. And then eventually like Leonardo DiCaprio started having like normal stuff out. But anyway, that's a little bit later, I think.
Mike, what movie do you think best represents these kind of '80s comedies?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's so many that are just like perfectly like capture the entire genre. Like let's see, trying to think. My favorite probably '80s like wacky comedy, and this might actually be the most quintessential '80s like comedy is probably Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh yeah, I love it.
It's got so many staples. It's got Rodney Dangerfield, who was really a huge star at the time. Again, Robert Downey Jr. is in this.
Yep.
Um, William Zabka plays the villain, which he did for quite a few movies in the '80s.
Yes, he did.
Which, is and thankfully he's in was in Cobra Kai because he's really good in that. So I'd like to see more of him. Pardon me. And of course, the great Kurt Vonnegut also makes a cameo, which is just ridiculous. I mean, it's just I don't even understand how that happens in the movie.
Yeah, it's a highlight for us. Mike and I are both big Kurt Vonnegut fans. The writer, the late writer, and that's a great part.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen it, the premise is that this son of a wealthy man starts going to school, and he can't quite. He's having trouble. I think he's homesick or something. I don't quite remember exactly what's going on. But then his dad decides to move into the dorm with him and go back to school. Hence the title. To get his degree as well, but also because he needs a break from his stressful, high-powered executive business type lifestyle.
Yep.
And it's got a lot of it's. I wouldn't be upset if someone used this as a premise for just to have Rodney Dangerfield tell a bunch of his funny one-liners, for 2 hours or so. But that's not this movie is. I mean, he definitely has a lot of good lines in it, but it's not. It's a fun movie all throughout. It's entertaining. Like I said, the cameo was fun. Sam Kinison is in it as well. He's it's probably one of his few film roles that I know of.
Yep.
It's like a reverse Tommy Boy. Him going back to school, where his son's more affluent.
A little bit, yeah. That's a good point because in Tommy Boy, obviously he gets out of college and he goes to and works for his dad.
Oh, I thought you were meant Billy Madison for some reason.
Oh no.
But yeah, Back to School is a great movie, and like you said, Mike, one of the things that I think is great about it is that, like you said, they didn't just use it as a vehicle for one-liners for Rodney Dangerfield. They really worked at crafting a story. And
yeah, it's really I can't remember who plays his love interest. She's kind of a famous actress, isn't
Sally
she?
Kellerman.
Oh, maybe not.
She's been in a lot of stuff.
And one of my favorite characters from the '80s is I do not know her name and I feel really bad. It's the woman who plays Thornton Mellon's secretary. The one who kind of shows up. She's got the red hair, the kind of if you saw her, you would recognize her. She's a character actress who's been in a ton and tons.
Was she in Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yep, she was the secretary in Ferris Bueller's
Okay,
Day
yeah,
Off.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
She's like the secretary.
Yeah, she's great, as always, and it's fun to see her. That's actually another good one, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's one of your favorite movies, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is definitely one of my favorites in this genre. Another John Hughes film, and just that's another one where it's just the movie is fun all the way around. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of Matthew Broderick, this is probably this and War Games would be his two quintessential 80s roles, and I think this one is probably the one that he's more known for. But this has
I think you're right.
This has a lot of John Hughes staples where Chicago plays a big role in the film.
Chicago is like the co-star of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it
I wonder if the
features
city was a sponsor.
right. It features a group of a couple teenagers who are wealthy that don't know they're wealthy. So
Right.
Right?
that's like in every John Hughes movie ever,
Right.
because that was John Hughes when he was growing up. His family
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
you know, upper middle class, like real, like not quite rich, but like on that precipice, real upper middle class, and he just kind of grew up like he just assumed all this was normal. Everyone's got this stuff, and you know the
It's City House and Home
the biggest
Alone.
problems you have are you going to get kissed on your 16th birthday?
The only thing that would have made this more of a John Hughes movie is if John Candy had made a cameo at some point.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
I love John Candy.
Yep.
I cried when he died. He was like the best. Like, I mean, there's nobody like John Candy. Like, Chris Farley came pretty close, but yeah.
Yeah, we definitely can't talk about like 80s comedies without mentioning John Candy. He was in, you know, a ton of had a like basically a perfect hitting streak throughout the entire year.
Yeah, like when people ask which 80s star I miss the most, that's John Candy, hands down. Just it was a devastating loss.
Yeah, and he was in a slew of these films, like you said, Mike. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck,
The Great Outdoors.
The Great Outdoors.
is it
Yep, The Great Outdoors, which is one of my favorites, and I know that your wife, who's my cousin, so you know, Savvy, is a huge
she is?
fan.
That's awesome.
It's a huge fan of it. Yeah, you know what that reminds me of, Mike. It reminds me of your wife, my cousin Alex, had a friend named Becky, and all of us were hanging out one time, and she said to me, we were talking about Alex's sister, Kelly, and she said to me, Becky says to me, "You know Kelly, right?" And I just kind of stared at her, and I'm like, yeah, she's my cousin, just like Alex is. So I've known her literally my entire life.
Right.
But yeah, the Great Outdoors is, if you guys haven't seen The Great Outdoors, because it's probably one that's not as seen as some of these other ones.
I've seen it in bits. It used to be on TV all the time, like back when, you know, they would have movies on TV all the time.
Right.
I've probably seen it, like, you know, if I assemble all the different parts I've seen together, I've probably seen the whole thing. But I couldn't tell you what happens in the movie other than the part that there's like a bear trying to eat someone.
Yeah. But
Well, the big trailer that they showed was like, sorry, this is a spoiler, but he takes the shotgun, the double barrel shotgun, and basically blows the hair off the bear's ass. And like, then you see the two bald spots exposing its butt cheeks as it like roars out of the room. Like, so that's like probably the funniest part of the movie.
Yeah, the basic plot of The Great Outdoors is that John Candy wants to take his family on vacation, and he wants to take them to the wilderness. Now that I think about it, it's sort of like the movie Grown Ups. It's basically kind of the same thing, because he wants to take them, instead of going to like some big resort or Disneyland or something like that, he wants to take them to just kind of like enjoy themselves and relax. You know,
Oh yeah, that's another staple. Like City Slickers is really kind of like that too.
Yeah.
If you consider, you know, cow poking being relaxing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And if you've seen the movie, it's not.
No, not at all.
Well, what I loved about the Lampoon's movies was that he was trying to take his family out to vacations, but it was his own wonky way, and he ended up getting everybody in trouble multiple times, which was that was the hilarity, like the point of the whole thing.
You know, that might be the quintessential 80s movie, National Lampoon's Summer Vacation.
Yep.
Or was it called
All-
Vacation?
It was
or
just
something?
called Vacation.
It was all of them. There was Christmas Vacation. There was there was a couple of them that were just classic, just goodness.
Yeah, and that might be the first of, because I believe that came out in 1980 or 1981. And
so many elements came together. I mean, it's the first of like Saturday Night Live stars really like making like a big impact on the screen. You know, Chevy Chase was, you know, it's like, wow, this Chevy Chase guy, his star's never gonna, you know, fall.
Right.
It was National Lampoon itself was a big source of writers for the earlier seasons of SNL as well. I think a lot of people were from Harvard. You know, and there's a lot of like Harvard people still at Saturday Night Live. I don't think Lorne Michaels was involved, but I mean Anthony Michael Hall, he was, you know, becoming like a really big star around that time, and he actually either at that time or later, no, I think it was a bit later, he went on to be on Saturday Night Live even. Of course,
You know
John
what's-
Candy's in it briefly. But,
Yeah, John Candy. But you know it's strange, and I've noticed this like every place I've worked, even in the media, you have cliques of people, even in no matter what stations you work at. So like you could have like people that band together. They could be on a certain movie. They don't take all the other actors with them, but they like gel with a certain amount of actors, and then they continue on like making stuff together. Adam Sandler is a perfect example because for all his movies, he uses like the same actors pretty much for every single movie. And so that kind of illustrates my point a little bit. And I think that happened with Lampoons. And I think Chris Farley, I don't know if he was part of Mad TV. I know, what's his name? I know, I'm having a name day today. What is his name? Jim
Artie
Carrey.
Lang?
Jim Carrey.
Oh,
Jim Carrey
was on In Living Color.
Yep.
In Living Color, right? There was like a couple. There was Mad TV and Living Color and Saturday SNL, but I know like certain groups like kind of band together and they ended up like doing a lot of stuff together, like Mike Myers with who was the oh my gosh, I mean this is like not a good day to have like
Dana
name
Carvey?
blocks. Not just Dana Carvey, but the one that played the donkey,
Eddie Murphy?
Chris Rock.
Oh, Chris Rock. Okay.
Right, with Mike Myers. Like, so there was, I'm just having a bad day with names, which is bad for the show.
No, you're fine.
But there's definitely like, you definitely gel when you first get like a network or co-actors or co-people that you gel with. And you'll know, and it's weird. I'm going to segue a tiny bit because having been in the industry like 15 years now, I realize now that I also have my own circle of people that like includes Motley Crue. Just there's a whole group of people and we're all like connected, which is super weird because there's other celebrity circles that are not connected to us at all. And it just happens in every like media social circle or entertainment social circle. So just
I think Stephen King would call that a quartet.
Yeah, exactly.
not sure, but like I just know that like it does happen and it's just like so weird. But you can see like definitely like Chris Farley and David Spade were just super tight. They were like the circle nexus, and like there was a couple people around that, and then of course like I said, Adam Sandler and his group were around a different one, and mine happens to be Motley Crue plus like I'm having a bad name day. Let me get back to you.
Okay.
I have like other people that are in my circle that it's just weird because like I'll see the same contacts that they have. I don't think it's a Facebook algorithm. Like there's just like different stuff that happens that kind of substantiates that like on a different realm. I just think you're just supposed to be with certain, I don't know how much you believe in that, but it just seems odd to me that there's just different circles and whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that interests me a lot when I look at different movies is sort of who gravitates towards each other and who does work with each other and kind of the stories about, you know, how they met and stuff like I like a lot of the biopics of that. Actually, with National Lampoons, there's a movie called what's it called?
Something Catastrophic Failure, isn't that?
It's a feudal. It's a line from Animal House. It's not a stupid and futile gesture, but it's something like
it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a really good movie. It's on Netflix, but it's basically about the life of Doug Kinney, who was one of the founders of the National Lampoon. The Harvard Lampoon's been around for at this point over 100, like 150, 160 years or something like that. But when they went to Harvard, they decided they were going to start a national magazine of the Lampoon. They had written on the Lampoon, and they licensed the name from Harvard to use it, and they started that National Humor magazine, which is where a lot of those Saturday Night Live writers came from. Michael O'Donoghue and Annie Beats and some of the early Saturday Night Live people came from there, and some of the performers too, because they did the
radio show.
Yeah,
wasn't Bill Murray was on the radio show, I believe, and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, John Belushi was on there. Gilda Radner was on there. Christopher Guest, who did some stuff with Saturday Night Live later after they had already started. But yeah, Lorne Michaels took a lot of those people away from the Lampoon to start his show. And the National Lampoon's Vacation was the second National Lampoon's movie they did. The first one obviously was Animal House, which was John Landis directed that, and Doug Kinney was one of the writers on it. And this was after Doug Kinney had left to do his own thing. This might actually be after he died, I'm not sure. But they went on to do Caddyshack, Harold Ramis and him. But Harold Ramis directed this, so, obviously still had the connection to the Lampoon. Matty Simmons, who was their financier, basically, produced it. John Hughes, who wrote for the Lampoon after Doug Kinney, he wrote this movie, and it was based on his writings in the National Lampoon. And then, they got Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was another one that worked with the Groundlings and on the National Lampoon radio show as well. And he was one of Doug Kinney's best friends. And so they did this movie together. And like I said, this might be my favorite of the 80s screwball comedies. And I think
it's a really top-notch one.
And it's one of the first. It's definitely one of the first ones from this decade that really kind of set the tone for what a lot of other comedies would be like during this era. And then that you move on from there. Like one of the big ones that people remember a lot now is Revenge of the Nerds. Savvy, have you ever seen Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes, I have.
That's a movie that would be very. I think what was it, the first episode? I think, Mike, we talked about Revenge of the Nerds a little bit. About it. But that's definitely a movie that would be really problematic nowadays. I mean, they do a panty raid, and then they set up cameras inside the woman's dorm and spend a lot of time watching them change. And these are our heroes. There's a rape scene in the film.
Yeah. I mean, the hypocrisy of the whole thing just is.
Well, wow. back in the day, part. I think like 80s people was, it was just like it was. I mean, they were trying to be progressive, but it was a whole different thing back then. Like it was. Oh, yeah. It was like that was. I think 80s producers, pardon me, but I could be wrong. That was like on the cusp of where every damn movie started to be softcore porn. So I think they were trying to bridge every damn movie with, we're going to just bridge that line and test the water, put our toe in the water to see how it goes. And we're going to just go there and be that dramatic, because I'm going to put this out there too. Hold on, I have to cough. I liken the 80s to like probably the 60s, where it was like the last innocent generation. Like, granted, there was the 60s, then the radical 70s, or late 60s, 70s, but then there was also the 70s, which were super mellow, and then the 80s were pretty good and politically good and all whatever, what have you. But people were largely conservative, and so the movies and whatever producers were trying to make a big break, and like, again, they were trying to put their, and who knows, I don't know back then what the FCC was doing. I don't know what the rating system was doing. That's before my time. But I know now, but so I don't know, but I just know that they were trying to venture forth, and I just know that all the movies that I saw back then had a lot of like softcore, or at least boobs were like softcore, or any reference to underwear, or seeing a girl naked and all that. So I think they were just trying to like throw that out there and see what they could do with it. Yeah, because it got ratings back then. It was ratings gold.
Oh yeah,
and that's important.
They definitely pushed the maxim that sex sells, I think, about as far as they could. This obviously was around the time that Porky's came out. There was a period in this. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, there's a lot of movies that are just very thinly veiled, like excuses, just have like as much nudity on screen. I think Porky's definitely is one of them, because the poster for Porky's advertises a nude scene in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And
But I
this,
think Revenge of the Nerds is actually good enough to exist without. If you took all those elements out of it, it's still a fun movie. I mean, I think it's a really good movie. I mean, obviously, if you look at it as like a dark humor movie, you might enjoy it a lot more.
right?
Especially with the way like cultural norms and such have changed since then. But
Yeah,
it's a good movie without the nudity.
I
And
agree.
Pretty in Pink was a good one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I agree. If you take those elements out of it, then it's still the writing is still good. It's still
A lot of
fun
good
movie.
actors are in
Yeah.
there. Curtis Armstrong, Robert Carradine.
Yep.
What the guy from 30 something is on there too is Poindexter. I forget his name, but
Mike or Busfield, Timothy Busfield.
That's it. Yeah, he's been in a lot of other stuff too. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
I remember the name of the secretary from Back to School and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Edie McClure.
Oh, I want her on my show.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing her in movies. It's like it was almost like a stamp of like a certain quality that she would be.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, so like in the 80s, like to further exemplify what it meant to have like such a scene in a movie, this is what a big deal it was. Like I was, early 90s junior high, so I got a taste of the like basically 80s. I got a good enough taste of it. But I know that like a kiss meant everything. I'm not trying to quote John Cougar Mellencamp because holy crap, that's a great song. A kiss meant everything. That was equivalent to sex. If you went to like a dance and you actually kissed your partner on the dance floor, that was huge.
Oh yeah.
Like we were on the after cusp of like Dirty Dancing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal. But guess what? That's so cool. And so these movies really pushed it for the girls, like, oh my God, we got kissed. Yay, that's a big deal. But for the guys, if you saw a boob or a bush back in the day, sorry, you can cut that off if you want. If you saw like a big deal thing like that back in the day, that was a big deal back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Like now it's like, of course, all different now. But it just kind of puts everything in perspective how freaking kind of wonderful everything was, kind of innocent. Like, I mean, I've said this before, like even when I was younger, like the 80s was kind of the last innocent, like, because nowadays, like what I hear what kids do now, like on first dates and stuff, I'm kind of like, I wish they like knew like how just great like making out would be on. That would be huge on a first date. Like I wished they had that. And I know that's a big deal. I like personally hope it can go back to that because like it's just too much to like go all the way or halfway there like on a first date, because then it's whatever. I mean, I'm being nostalgic maybe, but there was a lot of magic in that. And anyway, that's all I'm gonna say on that because I thought that was just kind of neat. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the internet has definitely changed films because, and I think one of the reasons why there isn't more of this kind of playful, let's get nudity in movies is because, people can see whatever on the internet. I mean, Mike and I can attest back in our day, as like growing up as teenagers or in middle school or whatever, seeing nudity, it wasn't something that happened. You might try to see the scrambled porn channels on cable or something like that, or it's just a bunch of colors and twisting light and you can't really see anything. But to be able to actually see something like that in a movie or a magazine, it just didn't happen. I mean, it was, there was just
you have to go into the woods and find a magazine for that sort of
exactly. There was just no access to it at all, really. And another one that I thought of in this category, which is just it's a terrible film, but it's sort of funny, like it's sort of bad funny. But 1982 Zapped with Scott Baio and Willie Ames.
I was going to mention that actually.
Where he gets magical powers to be able. This is what happens in the movie. I don't remember exactly how he gets these powers. It might be another.
It's like a laser, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, but he gets the power
He's
to
like a grad
move. He gets the power to move things with his mind, and he uses it to lift girls' dresses.
Oh dear God!
So that
right up the 80s alley,
right? Oh, I just remember that.
You're right about that.
Oh yeah, I just remember he went to Ralph Waldo Emerson High School, and and I was just offended that they drew Ralph Waldo Emerson into this trash.
The electricity during the film was powered by Ralph Waldo Emerson turning in his grave, and a turbine was hooked to it.
That's right. Why I think that's exactly why I think the 80s was actually, now that I think back, and really also what you said is that 80s was kind of revolutionary because it was because the 60s was a time of like suppression and war, and people were starting to break out. And then the 70s, people were breaking out, but it was largely frowned upon by media. But in the 80s, this would have been actually the time where people would have definitely broken out and tried to make a quote unquote name for themselves. So that actually kind of makes sense that they would have tried to draw those lines in a accentuated manner. So that actually kind of makes sense.
Yep. Another one of my favorites from this time period is a kind of forgotten film by the Zucker brothers, David and Jerry Zucker, and Jim Abrams. Obviously, I think I know what you're going to say. They got very popular with Airplane. They did the Naked Gun movies, which came out in the early 90s. But this one gets overlooked a lot, but it's 1984's Top Secret.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, that's a great movie.
It is a really good movie. Omar Sharif and Peter Cushing are in this movie.
Oh my God, Omar Sharif is in that. Ooh.
It's probably my favorite movie of that whole genre. Like, I mean, Airplane's okay. Mm-hmm. It's like something I've seen referenced like 1,000 times before I ever even saw the movie. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's no fun to me,
Yep.
But like Top Secret, like you said, it's kind of like a hidden gem. Like, it's weird. Like Val Kilmer's, it's like it might be one of his first movies. I don't know what he was in much before that.
I believe it was his first film. I think they discovered him doing a play.
That's pretty amazing because he does his own singing and he's actually pretty good. Like he's got a pretty good voice in there.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a secret agent, so it's obviously a spoof on those genres. Oh, I'm sorry. This is your movie. You tell.
Well, you can definitely chip in, but yeah, I
just got excited by it. I love that movie. It's so good.
It is a really great film, and it's definitely my favorite of the Zucker brothers movies. He's a spy, and he's also like an Elvis Presley style.
Right. Yeah, it's a rockabilly surfer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first song in the movie is Skeet Surfing, where it's people surfing and then trying to shoot skeet and they're falling down and bullets are going everywhere.
Title could have another meaning as well.
Oh.
Right. But yeah, it's funny. I like one of the things that I like about the Zucker brothers that they're from, and Jim Abrams too. They're from Wisconsin. I think they're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And
the beers.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that, obviously we're in the Midwest too, but so maybe we're sort of biased, but I kind of like that style of humor, like the New York style of humor, especially during this era, would be like very sarcastic and biting.
Yeah.
And the California.
See, I really don't like this.
Really? You don't?
I don't like the style of humor. It's just like in general, it's just like, it's like puns, It's like I don't really care for puns. It's like, oh look, we're gonna do this, but I know it's kind of like hypocritical because I like the movie Basketball, and there's a lot of that style of humor in there. But those aren't necessarily the parts that I find funny in Basketball.
Roger Ebert had a quote, and I think it might have been about the Naked Gun. I think that's what it was about.
I hated this film. Hated.
No, but Roger Ebert had this quote, and he said, "Any Zucker brothers film you see, any joke, you laugh at twice. You laugh at the first time because of the joke, and then the second time you laugh at yourself for laughing at something so stupid."
Right.
And that's sort of this is, and maybe I'm kind of like you where I don't love this type of humor. This type of humor can be done really poorly, but they did it.
Yes, it can. There. What was the movie you mentioned mentioned last time.
What, Zapped?
No. The movie last week. I think it was the Educating Mike movie.
Oh,
The one where it was like it was like a parody of like 3 different terrible movies.
oh yeah,
The murder
Hungover Games.
Yeah, the Hungover Games. It's like that is like a terrible example of that. I mean, and even the best examples, in my opinion, aren't that good. I mean, I'll watch them. I'll give them a shot. Don't Be a Menace to South Central was pretty funny, but it was the same sort of comedy, but in a different style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, I mean, there are some very obvious, like, dumb jokes, but it just seemed to be a little different somehow, and I enjoyed that more. But, I mean, I think I still like Top Secret better than Don't Be a Menace.
What I think the difference is it's dumb jokes, but you can tell it's like smart dumb. You can tell that they put a lot of thought into these gags, even though they're kind of dumb gags.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I think that's what you need to do in order to make it funny. You have to put a lot of work into it, and because it's harder to make stuff that's really dumb funny. But
yeah, because I think a lot of people just think like referencing something is funny. Like, you know, if you like go to like a random social group, like there'll be one person who's like, "Oh, that's like that movie we just saw," and then everyone will kind of laugh, and like it's like, okay, that's kind of funny, I guess, not really. But then like this whole movie is just like a whole movie of that kind of stuff. Like, oh look, I'm so hungry games. It's like, that's not fucking funny. I'm not gonna watch this movie.
Exactly. But yeah, Top Secret is just there are so many funny parts, there's so many funny lines. There's a few things that I think are probably lost on younger audiences.
Yes.
There's not a ton of dated references, but there's a few. Like at the beginning, I think it's when he's on the train with Omar Sharif and they're pointing guns at them, and they said, "I don't know what you said to him," because the guy gets all mad, and he said, "I just told him that I put him on the Montgomery Ward's mailing list or something like that." And it's like, if you didn't grow up in the early '80s, you have no idea like why that would be something bad, because they would hound people.
But there's two. Just even if you see Top Secret for these 2 scenes alone, do you know the 2 I'm talking about, Mark?
I think so. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you.
No, go.
Well, one is the entire scene is filmed backward. It's just like super interesting, like the way I think they even speak the words backwards, which is odd.
Yep.
Yeah, at one point, like he lets go of a book and it flies up into a shelf. It's like really. Like I've seen a couple movies. Like, have you ever seen the movie Bringing Out the Dead?
Yeah, that's one of my wife's favorite movies.
Yeah, that's a very underrated movie. Like you think because Nicolas Cage is in it's going to be bad, which I mean, who would blame you at this point? But that's like one of the few like good Nicolas Cage movies where which allowed him to keep getting like millions of dollars for being in all these terrible movies for the longest time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really it's an interesting movie. There's a whole backward scene in that one too, but this one is just like, wow, it's like you don't even realize it. It's just they basically did it for one gag. It seems like.
Yeah, and that scene, there's 2 really, like, first of all, the technical aspect of doing that, like, because they're doing everything backwards. They're supposed to be speaking Swedish, I think. That's the scene that Peter Cushing's in. And we first see him, and he's got a magnifying glass to his eye, and his eye's all blown up because of the magnifying glass. And then he takes it away, and he just has a grotesquely huge eye for some reason. So they put Peter Cushing's face, like, that's the other thing too. Anyone that's seen Rogue One, where they bring Peter Cushing back, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that they used the mold that they took of his face to make that eye. That they used that to scan into the computer to digitally recreate him in that film, because it was one of the last molds that they had of his face.
Oh, that's weird.
But yeah, the technical aspects of that are just astounding, and that's one of the great things about it.
The other scene is filmed entirely underwater. Like it's like they have a fight underwater. It's just ridiculous. It's there's no need to do that. It's just like a nice cherry.
Exactly, and that's the thing is they took pains, in their craft. They really worked hard to put together this stuff, even though a lot of the humor is kind of dumb jokes, but it really works because of the amount of effort that they put into it.
Yeah.
The underwater scene, that was the other scene you were talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Top Secret is fabulous. If you have not seen the movie, find some place where you can see it. And Val Kilmer is just fantastic in the movie. It's one of the best roles of his career, I think, because he, like you said, he does all his own singing and dancing. He is great at the singing and dancing, and he really gives a hilarious performance.
Yeah, he's very. I just realized when we were talking about this earlier, Val Kilmer is like really a really good actor. He's just not in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
When you think of this, The Doors, obviously he really immersed himself into the character. I'm not a big fan of the movie myself, but I mean, I think he did a good job performing. And Tombstone, I mean, that's like an amazing performance on that. He's just like this, like dying of what was it? Shit.
Was it typhus or was it?
No, it's
cholera?
it's not. It's the tuberculosis. That's what it
Tuberculosis,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like wow. It's like he's just steals the entire movie in that one. He's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, he was also in The Island of Dr. Moreau, which was really bad.
Yes. There are a lot of crazy stories about the Island of Dr. Moreau.
I would read a book or watch a movie about that, because I heard at one point Marlon Brando wanted his character to be revealed as a dolphin.
Yes.
And just, wow, that's like his last movie, and he was, not pleasant to work with for a while at that point, from what, I've heard.
Yeah,
it's a very odd movie.
He went very eccentric. The original director of the movie, who had labored for years and years to get this movie made because he really liked the story and he wanted it brought to the screen, he got fired from the project, and he went and he hid in the woods while they were filming it. And then people, certain people would know that he was in the woods, like some of the crew and some of the actors knew he was in the woods. The craft service people went and brought him food and stuff, because he literally just lived in the woods while they were filming this, so he could see what they were doing and how it was going. It was just insane.
The movie is a complete train wreck. It's like at certain points it seems like at the very beginning it's like, oh, this might be good, and I was like, oh no, and it's like, oh wow, it could be worse, right? Like, oh no, he's singing now and the guy's on the piano.
Oh god, yeah, but the story behind that is much better than the story that they presented on the screen.
There we go. Our new Netflix project, The Making of the Island of Dr. Moreau.
There you go. Yeah, we'll do that. Savvy, you can produce it for us.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself too? You have a radio, internet radio thing as well, correct?
Right. So I basically, let's see. I guess I'll start from the beginning. I basically graduated broadcasting school from 2003. I got my first job in an AM mom and pop gospel station. And that was like the day after I graduated broadcasting school. And then I was there for like 2 years. And then after that, I worked for the Bot Radio Network. They have like 100 nationwide. And I oversaw their production for the entire Midwest region, Texas and Arkansas, and then I worked for Fox CW and Ion Television, and I did audiobooks for tape publishing. And so basically, in a nutshell, that's my history. Then I started Radio Love a few years ago, using all my knowledge that I have and basically just growing shows. And now I have my own show. Schmidt Talk is just kind of part of it. I'm launching other shows with other hosts, but I have to keep myself relevant, so I have to keep my own show in the limelight.
Do you have a general theme on your show, or is it just kind of whatever interests you at the time?
Yeah, pretty much it's just a basic talk show. When I started the other shows, I wanted to make sure that they had themes for the shows, so that we could have an easier time getting guests, plus an easier time getting sponsors, and so that's always just makes things easier. But pretty much my own show, it kind of got backburnered a little bit, but it's getting more in the limelight now because I have to keep myself relevant also. I define myself more as a producer than a host, although I don't mind hosting. I love hosting, but I really get a lot of satisfaction of building hosts and marketing them and building great things out of their shows. Like I said, I've got 15 years in the industry. I've got I mean, I can do digital production all day long, 24/7, and just pretty much like that's like my strong suit.
Do you have like a website or anything set up for that, or is it just kind of like people you know and that sort of?
Pretty much like radiolove.com. That's like my company is Radio Love, so it's radioluv.com. And that's like where I put out the shows that I produce. Plus, we have like a live stream that we have, like not just the shows that I produce, but just other shows that we submit to the network. And pretty much like, yeah, you can just like see everything at the site, radioluv.com.
Sounds good.
Well, that is our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Massive Late Fee. Check out that at MSC Network as well. Mike, you're at Mike_Fee.
No, I think it's late_Mike.
That's right. It's late_Mike. At late_Mike is where you can find Mike. Savvy, where can people find you online?
You can always find me at radiolove.com, radioluv.com.
Okay. And you can email us at massivelatefee@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Massive Late Fee. Look out for our audio commentaries on Bandcamp. Go to our Patreon if you want. Donate $1. You know, that always helps us continue to produce this show for you guys. And as we always say, the best thing you can do is tell a friend. We still have a contest going on where if you give us the most creative or funny way that you've worked listening to Massive Late Fee in a conversation that has nothing to do with Massive Late Fee, we're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card. So check that out. You enter by tweeting that at us using the hashtag Massive Late Fee. Thanks for joining us tonight. Savvy, thanks for being here. Special thanks to Jason for the theme song, for Larry Hankin for joining us tonight. Savvy, thank you for joining us. Check out Savvy Schmidt and all the good work that she's doing, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you. Bye.